Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Death and childhood poverty. Won't somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You wouldn't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very, very good evening, Thursday, the 20th of February 2025. My name is Raj Amir. This is one of those Recusant 9 broadcasts. I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to come back. I went away for a couple of days, and the scale and magnitude of what we are fighting hit me, if I'm honest. I don't have a break often, so when I do have a break, I think you have time to step back and reflect, and no, I didn't want to come back, because this is a monumental struggle on so many fronts. I'll get into the content of this evening in a moment. First of all, I hear my friend Nick has not been well. Whilst I've been away, I saw something that she'd been in hospital, so I hope you're recovering. And yeah, we're low on numbers. It's as simple as that. So anytime someone gets ill who's been active, I mean, Nick has been out, regardless of her illness, she's been out delivering leaflets with me for a number of years. So I hope you're recovering. I do hope you're recovering, and I like that, mate. I like you've added the name Recusant to your. I posted a couple of. I had time to write whilst I was away. I also had time to write. My main. I'm not even sure skill's the right word, but my main way of communicating has been writing content for people. So I hope you managed to read the Recusant journey that I sent out via Redwall and Rabble, and pretty much everything else, everywhere else I share my content on. I hope you managed to read it. I was disappointed, if I'm honest. I put it up on Facebook and X, and when I share my own reflections about where I'm up to, it never seems to get the engagement as the have you seen this and have you seen that sort of content. One is obviously connected to the other. If I am not able to persevere on this journey I'm on, then the content doesn't happen. So no, disappointed is the wrong word. It's just, what a weird world it is all I'll say on that. The what's not singing? It's not singing. It's a phenomenal journey it is, Louise, and thank you, Jane, for appreciating the content. I've seen you post as well online and stuff, so thank you to all of you who have been continuing to share, continuing to post. Okay, this is where we're up to. It's a long journey. I've made it very, very clear, and if you're that way inclined, Dougie, bugger off. Just go. If you're that way inclined, why are you wasting your time here? Go and watch Coronation Street or whatever's on. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste anyone else's time. If that's the attitude. And he did, but the likes of Matthew Goodwin and a few of the others, and I respect them. I am not. I don't think I am their preference as a type of person, if I'm honest with you. And I sense that I am a student of history, and I come from a town where there's a statue. If you ever come to Oldham, there's a statue near the Old Town Hall. So the Old Town Hall is where Winston Churchill gave his first political speech after being elected MP. He wasn't a good MP for the town, but historically, he is. His first position as MP was for Oldham, and not far from the steps where he gave his first political speech is a statue of a woman called Annie Kenney. She was a working class suffragette. Now, the suffragette movement wasn't inclusive. It was highbrow, let's just say highbrow, the wealthy. And Annie Kenney was an exception. And we celebrate her. In our town, we celebrate her. Even though some people say she's not from Oldham because she's originally from Springhead, and at the time Springhead was part of somewhere else. But we celebrate her as one of our own. And if you read her story, you will know how the others looked on her with contempt and disdain because of her working class roots, her working class background. Although, she was first to the fight and fought harder than most. And I look on her, and in many ways I look upon myself and the way in which those who speak perhaps better than I do present themselves in a different way. I'm not the company I think they would choose. So that's where I'm up to with the likes of Mr. Goodwin and others. And despite that, I'm very clear. I respect them, and I value what they bring to the space. But I am a very different sort of person, as you can all see by now. If there was a beginning to this latest wave of what took place, that beginning for most of you started on New Year's Day when you saw Elon Musk tweet. And he tweeted because, or not long after, his outrage at the Secretary of State for Safeguarding Girls, a woman called Jess Phillips, writing back to my town, saying that she wasn't really going to safeguard girls because she wasn't going to support a public inquiry into the cover-up of the gang rape of children in my hometown. Now, Elon Musk had shared that, I think, because a man called Charlie Peters from GB News had shared it. Again, a man I have a lot of time for. And Charlie Peters had shared it because I'd got hold of the letter and published it. But more than just getting hold of the letter and publishing it, the request from Oldham Council went to the government only as a consequence of a campaign that has now been 6 years in the journey. 6 years. And during that 6 years, the Labour Party establishment has done everything possible to attempt to shut me down. I first started on Facebook, and my account got regularly suspended for things that we now know are true. I moved over to YouTube, and we would also regularly have video content removed. And people say, oh, you need to go on Rumble. I posted on Rumble just as a video archive at the time, nothing more. This is at the time when you couldn't really do anything on Twitter without being jumped on at the same time. And for those of you who've been in touch with me today saying, no, you need to go on Rumble, you'd misunderstand the fight. Central to this fight is to hold our ground on the mainstream spaces. That's why we fought tooth and nail to remain on Facebook. People said, oh, no one listens to Facebook. It's only old people. Well, I'm sorry, old people vote. Many of you here today have discovered me because you found me on Facebook. And I fought to remain on Facebook. And they tried desperately to remove me from Facebook to a point where I was regularly banned for months at a time. And there was massive shadow banning of the content until not long ago. We went over to YouTube and our videos would regularly be taken down. Particularly, I think, and then they'd be celebrated being taken down. So it was a coordinated campaign involving a malicious blogger, mainstream journalists and powerful individuals in the Labour Party. So, this is nothing new to us. The removal of videos is nothing new to us. And they will use it to say, oh look, Facebook took videos down, he's a conspiracy theorist, is this, is that. I've shared the emails I've got from YouTube who took it down this time. And I'll go through the content with you. I'll go through what's happened and the content with you. But I want you to be clear. I want to be clear with you. Because I'm not in the business of marching people up to the top of a hill and standing behind them whilst they attack. We are 6 years in this journey, and I believe it will take until the general election, at the very least, before we get to the next significant stage of this, which it'll be a national inquiry. And until then, we have to keep fighting and keep fighting and fighting, and whatever Yvette Cooper, Keir Starmer, Andy Burnham come up with, you need to understand that they are lying to you, they're deceiving you, and they are trying everything they can to avoid the truth from coming out. My friend Nick Buckley, who ran for mayor, and I don't agree with many of his politics, but he's still my friend, interviewed me and shared a piece of my response to Jess Phillips. And this father of one of the survivors came along to have a dig at me. It's all documented on X. And not was it just to have a dig at me. It was one of those snidey digs where he'd blocked me from being able to respond to him whilst he's having a dig at me, whilst he's defending Jess Phillips. And he's calling her Jess, like she's some sort of friend of his. And this father actually isn't even from Oldham. And he's talking about how he's aware of X, Y, and Z happening in Oldham and trying to promote the government. I don't want to have a look on his post. And he's describing the Prime Minister as Keir. I call him Starmer or Prime Minister. I don't reference these people as though they're my friends. Keir, Jess, Angela, Jim. Now I know why they hate me, they despise me. It's because I am not for compromising on this. And not just that, I am political, and I have hurt them politically, and I will continue to hurt them politically because it's the only pain that these people understand. They will not do the right thing. They will never do the right thing. And those of you who want to describe me as a troublemaker, as someone whose tactics you don't agree with, well, I'll tell you this, you would not be here if it wasn't for me and my tactics. Because all of you are doing nothing but crying, complaining, whinging. The only reason we've exposed this to where it now is and got to the root of why it's been allowed to take place is because of me. And the risks I have taken for the last 6 years. Let me bring something up and we'll work through it. Again, if you're new to me, I am 100% community funded. I rely on people to subscribe to my website where I share all my content. There's nothing I keep hidden or secret. I share everything I have in a way I try and explain it so you understand it. There's no clickbait with me. There's none of that nonsense with me. All my content is for free. And I ask people to subscribe to Redwall and therabble.co.uk. I know the numbers we need to get this over the line. Or to have a chance of getting this over the line even. And that number is 10,000 subscribers. I'm nowhere near. I'm not saying 10,000 paid subscribers. I'm just saying 10,000 people who just sign up to a bloody web page where they get an email where they can open if they want with the updates and the articles so they can keep informed properly. We're nowhere near. I'm also 100% dependent on your goodwill to fund me to do the work I do. Because I know because of the stand I took, I will never work again. There's no ifs, there's no buts. In the field I've been trained in, I will never work again. So I ask people, buy me a coffee. Support me via PayPal. If you're here now, think of it as going to the movies or watching a TV programme. You'd pay £2. You'd pay £3. And we're nowhere near. Thank you. People like you do keep posting the link and I'm grateful. I'm extremely grateful. I posted something on Facebook earlier. I'm just bringing it up on just promoting this transmission. Now bear in mind most of my elderly people, supporters engage with me through Facebook. If I feel disheartened, it's when I look at stuff like this. 16 shares. My friend Moyeb gets more shares for putting up a picture of his face on catching a train in the morning. There's 6,000 people who follow me on Facebook, and I've seen the algorithms. Tens of thousands who engage in the content. It's just disgraceful. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. It's absolutely disgraceful. That doesn't cost anyone anything. So what's the point? I post on X and the shares are much lower than they were. I'm still posting new content, new analysis. You can see it. Yeah, 16. What's the point? So please, there's over 500 of you here. All I'm asking you to do is sign up to an effing newsletter. Pay if you can afford the 75 pence. I mean, come on. Who can't afford the 75 pence a week? Just pay the £30 and be done with it for the year. Or just sign up for free if you can't. And if you don't want to commit to something like that, there's a coffee link, a samosa link. Click on it. Thank you. And so many of you have signed up for the year. It's great. But our numbers are small. When we went from working in a small town to working nationwide, I genuinely hoped our numbers would multiply. And it just, it's like a crest of a wave. People were interested for a couple of weeks. And then it's died down, and you need to understand. This change that you all want to see will only happen because you play your part in it. You continue to keep this on the front pages of the news. I'm not saying the broadcast news or the legacy news, but definitely the social media news. Because that is completely in our power. That's not up to anyone else. That is completely down to us. I don't expect the leader of a political party to respond to you about me, mate. What I can tell you is that I do regularly speak with senior figures in reform. And if there is a political party who has campaigned on this issue where it's actually been in the manifesto, it's them. I'm not a reform supporter. I stood against them at the general election as an independent. But I'm honest. The Conservatives talk about this issue. National Party, local party, they've been brilliant. National Party to talk about this issue. But I question whether, when it comes to the fight, whether they'll fight alongside us. We have to do it ourselves. And it's not just the media who want it to die away. It's those who control the country. It's the political class who wants it to die away. So, let me bring this up. Please, if you're finding value, at the very least like the thing, yeah? At the very least like. The little like thing, at the very least like. My hope is to keep this going until the general election. Secure the public inquiry, make sure it's fit for purpose, and assist in it doing its job and fulfilling its role. If I ever hope for my role in all of this, that's my hope. Is to keep lobbying, keep pushing until we secure the public inquiry and make sure that public inquiry does as it's supposed to do. Because as the last 6 years has shown me, no one is going to read the hundreds of pages and analyse it, make sense of it and bring it to people. It's something I've done, and it's something I can do, and it's something I don't mind doing. And my chin's up, mate. I'm going and seeing, I've got an interview podcast with Winston in a couple of weeks. He's been in touch with me. I'll just tell you when I'm seeing him. Winston Marshall, yeah. I'm going and seeing him on the 4th, I think. It's the week after next. I'm going to go down to London and I'll see him. And I'm forever asking people if you of a podcast. And I'm sorry, I'm not interested in genuine right-wing nutcases who want to talk about, oh, you're okay for now, but you're being sent back as well. Why would I go and entertain any of those idiots? And I think, I think he's all right, Winston, yeah. So, I'll keep doing this, I'm trying to get someone to bite in America. I've had one podcast. I'd like more, if possible, because I can articulate this in a way few can. I think you've seen that by now, and I can detail it in a way that few can. Okay. Rupert Lowe MP put this up this afternoon. What hope the rape gang victims must have felt in January. Front pages, parliamentary debates, a real sense that something might finally change. Justice might finally come. Now, total despair. Labour got what they wanted. It faded away again. I am sorry, we are trying. I actually don't agree with Rupert. He shouldn't be apologising. We should be apologising as well. It's just what I've been talking about. Look how many were interested in this 6 weeks ago. We are fickle. The public are fickle. If we demanded it as front page news, it would continue to remain front page news until something was done. And thank you, Beverly, for this. It means a lot to me because I get so many people sending me messages. Your videos are too long. They need to be 5 minutes. They need to be 10 minutes. You need better lighting. You need to hire someone to do this. Listen, I don't care. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Well, then my lighting and my sound is fine. I'm not some Hollywood producer videographer. I learned how to turn the thing on and press record, and this is as much as I need to know. I also have no interest in trying to make 30-second TikTok videos because I'm a serious man and this is a serious issue. So if my videos are too long or I don't talk fast enough, it's because I'm thinking whilst I'm talking. I've got content I want to share. I've got things that are coming up on the screen next to me that people are saying, and I'm trying to amalgamate all of this live while still making sure that you experience something positive, which is you learn. You start, isn't it? So I don't take anyone who comes to me as a fool. You're here because you want the details, you want the content, and you want it to make sense. If you want superficial sound bites, go and find a politician. I'm a serious man. And I take pride in that. So, Rupert, we're in this together, every one of us, and we all need to be trying harder. So my plea to all of you is share Rupert posts, share my posts, share everyone who speaks on this issue with conviction, with compassion, and with clarity. So I tried to speak to you with clarity. In early January, I promised every one of you I would share the dossier. And I put it out in a video entitled The Dossier of Deceit, How the Grooming Gangs Were Protected. It's 3 hours long, just under, where I went through every bit of evidence. From the initial cover-up involving Kevin Fitzpatrick and Jim McMahon whilst leader of the council, to Andy Burnham's cover-up, to also how the government had reacted. I didn't take a single one of you for fools, and I went through it methodically, logically, clearly. And 20,000 of you viewed that content. I got this morning. The content has been blocked from view on the following YouTube country site, United Kingdom. We have received a defamation complaint. So the only people I've gone back and looked at the video, the only people I made reference to in that first video, where I shared the dossier, I shared the dossier. So many of you say, no, the dossier doesn't exist. Raja Mir is making things up, blah, blah, blah. Well, I shared the dossier. I shared the emails. I shared all of it. The only people I made reference to: Jim McMahon, leader of Oldham Council at the time, Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC journalist. He saw the emails. I also made reference to Andy Burnham, his team of investigators, Debbie Abrahams, the MP for Oldham East, Angela Rayner, who was also an MP for Oldham, for Failsworth. I evidenced everything I went through, and I made sense of it so you would understand it. Thank you, Adam. It was full of evidence, nothing but evidence. So the only people who could have claimed defamation are Labour Party politicians. That's right, Labour Party politicians. So they've either done it individually or they've done it via lawyers, which is what I think has happened for this to happen. I am completely fine, mate. Fine. So this is the thing. YouTube don't get involved. If they get a serious enough complaint with lawyers and stuff, they'll just take it down. They don't want to get involved. So through their actions, the truth is censored. Because ultimately, these people, it's not they can't handle the truth, they don't want you to know the truth. And the truth is clear. Labour Party politicians covered up the industrial scale grooming and gang rape of working class white girls in towns and cities across the country for decades. And more people are coming to realise why they did that. It wasn't to maintain community relations. It wasn't for fear of the far right. It wasn't for fear of being branded racist. It was a decision they took, a calculated decision, where they decided that the votes they got from the communities in which these gang rapists came from was of more value to them than the white working class girls who were being systematically abused, who increasingly came from communities that did not matter, and the way they determined whether they mattered or not was in the currency of votes. The next one, so they didn't just get rid of one, they got rid of two. The next one they got rid of was the video entitled "Home Secretary Froze the Nation's Scraps." Defamation. Again, this one specifically targeted Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary. And what this one did, was detail to you, because I took the effort, how the proposed inquiries by Yvette Cooper were not fit for purpose. So my criticism in this video wasn't even at the Home Secretary per se, and even if it was, this is the Home Secretary. How can I be defaming the Home Secretary when I'm criticising a decision she's making? That's not defamation. And if I've exposed her proposed response as nothing short of an attempt to continue the cover-up, then I'm sorry, in a liberal Western democracy, I am entitled to have that opinion, and I'm entitled to evidence with people who listen to me why I hold that opinion. And tens of thousands of people now, hundreds of thousands of people now, share that exact same opinion, including MPs in Parliament. More than just that, by exposing and detailing how the Home Secretary was throwing the nation scraps, I used it to lead a campaign in my town where an emergency council meeting was called, which took place last week, where we forced every councillor, including every Labour Party councillor in that council chamber, to vote to tell, write to the Home Secretary to say they will not be satisfied, we will not be satisfied with the scraps that she's throwing. And we demand a national inquiry, and the investigation in Oldham has got to be a statutory inquiry with full powers. So that's what I did. And if you follow my content, you will see the likes of Mark Goodwin, Charlie Peters, whoever, wherever, pick up on the threads that I take the time to make sense of and sculpt a narrative around. So, those are the two videos that are gone. That doesn't mean we stop. That means we intensify our efforts, and I will re-record, reshare this content again and again and again in a way where it becomes increasingly difficult for them to claim defamation, but it gets worse for these people. It gets worse for these people. They have been threatening me for such a long time. Here is, and I've shared this before, but I'll just show you again, on the 24th of June. You can see it clearly. Brabner's lawyers wrote to Gary, who was my agent in the election, and me, by guaranteed post and email. We are instructed. Look. Instructed by Mr. Jim McMahon and the Labour Party. The contents of my leaflet is a matter of serious concern. It represents a breach of UK election law. It also offends communications legislation containing highly defamatory and grossly offensive content and infringes data protection law. Get stuffed, is what I said to them. I'll see them in the High Court. Get stuffed. These people and this political party were involved. These people were involved in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of working-class white girls. These were racially motivated crimes. The people who committed them were disproportionately represented from the Pakistani community, and they had political links. And it is my position that children were exchanged for votes. That's not defamation. That's a policy position based upon facts. Sorry, it's not showing all of it, is it? There you go. There you go, you can see it. And apparently had committed crimes. Well, I've not been arrested again. This is the Labour Party, remember? Look. The Labour Party here. Well, the Labour Party, if I have committed breached UK election law, legislation highly defamatory and grossly offensive context. Where is my summons to the High Court? Because that's what my response was. And they go on and go on. I'll share all this letter at some point. I just need to stand the time. You will provide Mr. McMahon with a letter of apology and correction in response of the publication, the wording of such letter to be agreed by them. I will pay him compensation. And I'll pay their legal costs. And I must take the steps without delay and do not republish the same. Well, I've been republishing the same and the same and the same and saying the same. And look, the Labour Party will consider whether any further civil, criminal or regulatory action is required. It's not for the Labour Party to determine whether I am arrested. This is blackmail. It's not for the Labour Party to determine whether I am arrested. And this date, as you can see, was the 24th of June 2024. And I wrote back to them and I said, I'll see you at the High Court. But they don't want to test that, because the evidence I shared will be the evidence I use in the High Court. And it's easy saying that. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to you at all. It's easy saying that. But I had to respond to these people using, it took time, effort, money, lawyers' time. I have a house, a flat, a small modest flat I share with my daughter. The legal costs would have meant I would have been homeless. So that is what I am risking, as well as my livelihood, my life, my liberty. I've got everything on the line here. So that's why I'm pleading with you. Support me. Because if I stop doing this, if I can't continue doing this, we all lose, because no one else is going to do this for you, because no one else has done this for you. If you're finding value in this, and I will, don't worry about them. Don't worry about them taking it off. I've put it up on X. I'll redo it all. I'll share it through the newsletters, through the videos. And we'll get it out again. And we'll keep getting it out. It was, wasn't it, Gary? You and I had the conversation. I mean, Gary's, because they wrote to him, threatening him. Got a wife, 2 kids, an army veteran. We are on the front line, which is why I call it dispatches from the front line. We are on the front line risking our effing lives. And I'm begging you to care for children. I'm begging you to care for your country. And the problem with Tommy's silence video, mate, and I have no issue with Tommy Robinson, like I've said to you, I'm going to go and see him in prison, is he fought the battle the wrong way. You've got to hurt them at the ballot box. You've got to take the masses with you. You've got to educate people to mobilise them. Use this, not this. And so there's no avoidance of doubt. What is being done to that man is political persecution. And again, you see, where's the mainstream media outrage or anything? Nothing. Almost silence. See, I don't think that. Because I know they will fight and they will mobilise and they will win if they can remove people like us from these spaces. If you're finding value, please consider subscribing, taking out a subscription to Redwall and the Rabble. Since I went live, I'm just checking now. I don't know why I bother. 6 people have signed up, of which 1 is a paid subscription. Yeah, listen to this. I know you are, mate, but we need more. We need more. I'm looking at the screen. There's 919 people here.
Islamism in the UK and the basically open border policies that the UK has had for so many years is impacting the future of the UK.
It is the most serious threat to our country, is the threat of Islamism. And the same is true across continental Europe. So we're seeing a rise in crime against women and girls, a rise in the number of rapes. We have these appalling cases of the Pakistani grooming gangs preying on underage girls, being covered up, essentially because the Labour Party don't want to lose Muslim votes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? You've mentioned it in other interviews, but I don't think the American audiences really understand that.
This has been going on since at least the 1990s. What has happened is girls age 11, 12, 13, 14 have been groomed by men in the Pakistani community, largely, into sex. They've been tortured. They've been raped. In some cases, they've been killed. And some of the perpetrators have been brought to justice, but they haven't had very long prison sentences, and some of them are out again. There's evidence the local police were complicit. So 2 members of the South Yorkshire Police were found to have participated in what happened. There is evidence that local councils and local councillors were complicit and were aware about what was going on. And the government have refused to have a public inquiry, even though it's estimated that 100,000 girls could have been involved. I mean, it's on a huge scale.
Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister. It might have been weeks, might have been months, makes no difference. Former Prime Minister is validating everything I have said and have been saying. They're not going to dare arrest her. She's doing a tour in the States, I think. The former Prime Minister saying 100,000. The former Prime Minister confirming councillors. Jim McMahon, in my case, in the town. I go further, the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, and I've evidenced it. I've clearly evidenced it. Well done to her. Well done to her. That takes courage. That takes courage.
BBC said it would review its editorial guidelines after the row over its refusal to call Hamas terrorists. That consultation ended last year. Did they inform you of what the outcome was?
On that specific consultation, that's a discussion that we're about to have. I've got a meeting coming up with the senior management of the BBC about this in particular.
Should the BBC call Hamas terrorists?
Well, look, I'm not going to get into telling broadcasters what to do.
I'm asking your opinion, Secretary of State.
No, I'm absolutely not going to stray into that. I think one of the...
Well, what's the argument that then, even as we speak, I'm watching on what's called a monitor here, what I will call Hamas terrorists returning the bodies of 4 dead Jewish people to the Red Cross to eventually go back to Israel. I'd call that a terrorist activity. What would you call it?
Look, I would absolutely call that a terrorist activity. But the point I'm making to you, Nick, is that if I start telling you or other broadcasters what they can or can't do, how they broadcast the messages that they send out, if I start laying down the law about that, I think that's a very slippery slope. We saw it with the last government. We had far too much political interference. The media exists in part to hold up a mirror to government, to put us under scrutiny. It's important that they're able to act with independence, and I will defend that with my last breath.
So will Lisa Nandy, the Secretary of State, defend my right to speak out against the Pakistani rape gangs without Labour Party politicians mobilising lawyers to remove content from YouTube, where I evidence and detail meticulously, line by line, every stage of the cover-up of the industrial scale grooming and gang rape of working class white girls by predominantly Pakistani men, as confirmed by the former Prime Minister Liz Truss. Surely she should be defending my right, especially as Raja Mia is a UK citizen and he does not belong to Hamas, who, by the way, Lisa, is a proscribed organisation. That means the United Kingdom's government consider Hamas to be a terrorist organisation. It's not even up for debate. It's not even up for debate. You haven't got a clue, mate. You haven't got a clue of where we can win or how we can win. Because if you think the Council of States are where we can win, you will lose. Because political party after political party has gone to the Council of States, come elections, and they've been chased out of the Council of States because the Council of States people who live there will say to you, where the F were you when we needed you? You don't win by mobilising the working class white to sit at the election time to say vote for us. You win by serving them in the years leading up to long before an election comes along. I am done for the day. I wanted to just share the YouTube videos with you and my analysis of that. And if you think that, Adrian, I hope so. All I am, the place where I am, I can't even get people to sign up to a web page. And you think tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions will go out and vote. If you find value in my work, there's a link at the top pinned. There's a newsletter you sign up to. We're currently at, I'll bring it up, 2,376 members. The vast majority are free. It's fine. That number needs to be closer to 10,000. Otherwise, we're going to lose. Very good evening.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.